Hello everybody, I'm Track394 and welcome to my Minecraft 1.14.3 Villager Wheat and Beetroot Farm Automatic Harvesting System tutorial. So, as you can see behind me here, we have a bunch of villagers who are basically doing nothing. And the reason why is because in Minecraft 1.14, changes made to villager farmer behavior such that when their inventory is full of wheat and seeds, they no longer harvest crops anymore. And it's impossible to fill their inventories with seeds as you were previously. The idea here is that in past versions of Minecraft, you were able to fill a Minecraft villager's inventory with wheat seeds as such. So I was able to throw a bunch of wheat seeds at the ground here, and they would pick up the entire stack, filling their 8 slots in their inventory. But that's no longer the case in Minecraft 1.14.3. As you can see here, the villager no longer fills their inventory. I placed down 10 stacks, and they only absorbed 4 of them. However, they do leave spots in their inventory for wheat. And so the idea here is that villagers will no longer fill their inventory with seeds and they'll no longer break crops needlessly. So that mechanic can no longer be utilized. So we have to create a new mechanic in order to utilize this behavior where villagers will no longer harvest the wheat and keep it for themselves. Because obviously if the villager's breaking the wheat and they're picking up the items on the ground, then we can't harvest those items for ourselves. So the idea then is rather than letting the villagers pick up all the items for themselves, why not just fill their inventories instead? So go ahead and give them all the wheat they could possibly want. See how he's picking up all the items. Give him all the wheat he could want. And then when his inventory is full, he'll stop harvesting the wheat that's on the ground. So as you can see here, he no longer wants to pick up any more wheat because I filled up his inventory. And he no longer harvests any of the wheat on the ground. This is good for us because we can now invent an automatic harvesting system, like the one you see over here, to pick up all of the items on the ground. So in this case here, all of the villagers have filled their inventories with seeds and the crop of choosing. So what I created here was an automatic timing system that would harvest the crops every 40 minutes. This is an Ethonian hopper clock with an added counter to it. I will link a website in the description that will give you more information about how the system works and how you can time it for yourselves. If you want to do anything longer or shorter, it's very easy. You can just manipulate the number of items inside the hoppers. Now in this case specifically, I don't want to wait around for 40 minutes, so I raise the tick rate of growing speed of different crops, as you can see here. And basically I set this hopper clock so it's a little bit faster. So when I flick this lever, you'll see what happens. So the first thing that happens is this dispenser drops a bucket of water onto the ground and it harvests all of the crops. Now because the villagers' inventories are already full of wheat, they don't pick up any of the wheat on the ground. Once the water is washed away, the villagers get to work and they start planting all of the crops on the ground. Simultaneously, a hopper minecart is released from underground and picks up all of the drops off the ground. At this point, the villagers have already picked up all the seeds, so you don't need to worry about them not getting any seeds in their inventory. When the hopper minecart is done, it'll drop off all the items into this chest, and you can do whatever you want with it later on. Now, once the villagers have placed all of the wheat seeds onto the ground, what will happen is that they'll wait around here and they'll do nothing basically until the wheat has fully grown. Once the wheat has fully grown, the hopper clock system here will trigger the dispenser once again and the minecart, and the whole process repeats itself. Now, of course, this is going much faster because of the tick rate and all, but the entire process would normally take you 40 minutes in Minecraft, which is a long time to wait to get just a small stack of wheat, as you can see here. So, unfortunately, this seems to be the best we can do in Minecraft 1.14.3, but it goes to show that it is still possible to automatically harvest wheat in this version of Minecraft. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and get into the details of how to make this farm for yourself. Alright, so the first step to making the automatic villager wheat and beetroot farm for yourself is to, of course, get yourself a 9x9 area of dirt, which should be pretty easy in survival. And then what you want to do is you want to count 4 blocks from the nearest corner. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, find your corner, break out the middle block, and place a bucket of water. Now you're ready for the next step, which is harvesting and tilling all of the land around that 1 block of water. Once you have done this, the soil should automatically hydrate itself. Because I have an increased tick rate, you can see that the soil is automatically hydrating itself a little bit faster. Once you have tilled all of the soil around your 9x9 block area with the one block of water in the middle. The next thing you want to do is create an enclosure for your villagers. Again, you don't want your villagers walking away from your farm, but more importantly, you don't want any of your items washing away from the farm either. In this case, I'm using glass blocks, but if you want to do this underground, you could just poke out a little area so that the villagers can't escape. You don't want to use fences or specific wall blocks because it will keep the items from flowing into the hopper minecart below them. Now that we have our enclosure here for the villagers, the next step is to place our waterlogged block. Simply get a stair of your choosing from your inventory and place it in the middle in whatever direction you choose. The reason why we do this is so that the water will not flow underneath the farm here when we place the rails underground. The next step is to remove all of the blocks underneath your farm. So in this case, you want to create a 2x2 room, a 2 tall room underneath your farm so that you can place down rails and powered rails to collect all of the items from your villager farm. Once you have the area underneath your farm cleared out, you can begin the next step, which is placing down the rails and the minecart with it. So in this case, we're going to be using a minecart with hopper in order to collect the drops from our villager farm here. And then you can use redstone blocks or blocks with levers attached to them underneath that to collect the blocks of our choice here. So in this case, we're going to use, just take any block of your choosing, place it down here. And then when you're ready, get out your rails and place them in this fashion. And then go back around and go the other direction. Break the block, put down a block of redstone, powered rail, and keep going. And in this case right here, you want the minecart with hopper to start right here, so we'll create a powered rail here and then a block that will power that rail when we're ready. And then we can just continue on in this fashion and fill up the rest of the farm here. And then you just curve the rail back around, place our powered rail, and just keep doing this until you get to the very end. Once you get to the end, you'll want to place down another block of redstone with another block on top next to the powered rail here so that the minecart with hopper bounces off of it and returns to the location it came from. Once it gets to its location, you want to put a hopper underneath this unpowered rail into your chest, which will collect all of your items from the villagers. Once you do all of that, you can place down your minecart with hopper, and then this block right here will be triggered by our hopper clock system every 40 minutes or so. This is just a quick correction to something I told you guys earlier. Make sure that the hopper minecart track goes beyond the edges of the farm because the hopper minecart will not collect all of the items inside of the farm if it's only within this bend. Make sure that this bend right here is outside of the dirt underneath the glass or block of your choosing here, and make sure that it wraps around in this fashion so that it starts and goes back to where it started. And make sure that it bounces off of this block right here. The reason why you want to have it bend around outside of the dirt here is because during that turn that it makes, it doesn't collect all the items on the block above it. So just make sure you do that in the future. That was a mistake I had made previously. Alright, so to make the hopper clock to time when to dispense the water for the harvesting, you need to go through and collect these items for yourself. You will need 6 redstone comparators, about half a stack of redstone repeaters, more or less, around a stack of redstone dust, 4 hoppers, 5 sticky pistons, 2 blocks of redstone, a dispenser, and a water bucket, and of course a block of your choosing for placement. For the counter, which is the part of the hopper clock that will be counting the number of cycles, you need 6 items. And for the actual timer itself, you need 4 stacks plus 17 of a block of your choosing. They all need to be the same type of block or same type of item that stacks to 64. In this case, I just use polished andesite. You can also name these with an anvil in case you don't want items falling into the hoppers and messing with your timing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this. So the first thing you want to do when you get started is you want to get yourself your sticky pistons, your comparators, your block of choice, and your redstone dust ready to go. What you'll do then is you're going to place down your block of redstone, and you want to place a sticky piston on either side of it. Going into that sticky piston, you're going to place down a dot of redstone and a block next to it. Going into that block, you're going to place a comparator, and the same on the other side. Next, you're going to get out your hoppers, and you're going to place the hoppers such that they're facing into each other. So in this case, this hopper is facing down, so I need to break it and place it so that it's facing into the other hopper. One thing I like to do is to place blocks on top of these hoppers so that items will not fall into them and trigger the system and mess with our timings. Inside of these hoppers, you need to put 4 stacks of items plus 17. Make sure that you keep 6 of these items for the timer, which will be coming next. Correction, the counter. This whole system right here is an Ethonian hopper clock, which you've seen from Etho's lab. And this whole system will continue to run unless you power one of these blocks right here with a torch or a lever. So in this case, if I want to turn the system off, I can just place a lever here and flick it, and this hopper right here will fill with all the items, and the system will effectively turn itself off. Next, you'll want to have your 2 comparators coming out of your hoppers as such, and they will be pointing into the counter. And then place your hoppers facing into each other. This right here will be the counter, which will count the number of cycles you want to cycle through before triggering the dispensers. Inside of the timer, you want to put 6 items. Next, you want to place down your block of redstone and your sticky pistons facing into it. And then mirror the other side. So as you can see here, our entire system is now operational, and we can now hook it into the hopper minecart. Alright, so now that the hopper clock is working correctly, you can take out your block of choosing and put a redstone dust next to this block right here. Get out a sticky piston and place it next to it. And put a block on top of that. This is effectively what they call a pulse limiter here. So basically when this there's an item that goes inside of this hopper right here. When an item goes into that hopper right there, it'll trigger this comparator, and that will trigger this dot of redstone here. The dot of redstone will power the piston will extend, and then this repeater here will grab the signal, and it'll create a vortex signal, which will be sent to the dispenser. So now, get out your block of choosing, and just get yourself a line of redstone going here to the central water block. Get out your dispenser and place it underneath so that it's facing downward, like this. And then put your water bucket inside of that. Now get out your redstone and place down redstone so that it goes towards that repeater. Make sure that you have no more than 15, and if you do, use a repeater. 13, 14. So, when this hopper clock triggers, it'll create a vortex signal which will go to the dispenser here and dispense the water onto the ground. To pick up the water again, you'll need to use a line of redstone repeaters to give a second signal that will go back to it. So in this case, take out your repeaters and place down 24. Set them all to the maximum delay. Once you've placed down your 24 repeaters, make sure that the signal goes into the block with this redstone on top of it going to the dispenser. Make sure that you place the repeater signal such that this line of redstone does not feed back into the input of these repeaters. If you do that, then it'll create a clock and it'll just continually power and depower the dispenser there, which is not what you want. So make sure that there's a repeater here blocking the signal from going back into these repeaters. Once you have the signal here, that 4-tick pulse will go from this repeater right here to the dispenser and trigger it, and then the 1-tick pulse from the sticky piston will follow this line of repeaters, and it'll go all the way down, and it'll trigger the whole system again. Lastly, you want to take out your redstone again and place down a line of redstone just going down to your hopper minecart here. You want this to happen on the second pulse going to the dispenser so that the villagers have enough time to pick up the seeds off the ground before the hopper minecart takes off and starts picking up the seeds. To finish the dispenser triggering system, make sure that you take the redstone dust that was here, break it, and put a redstone repeater there instead. The reason why you want to do this is because there's some weird glitch going on right now in Minecraft 1.14.3 where if you trigger a dispenser too quickly after it was triggered the first time and you trigger it the second time, it won't always pick up the water. But by placing this extra repeater right here, it strengthens the signal and forces the dispenser to operate as normal. So without that repeater, it would not trigger twice, but now with the repeater, it should operate as normal, as you can see here. To test it, you can just have a button on top of this redstone dot that'll trigger the piston, and the double pulse should work just as expected. And as you just saw there, the hopper minecart also released itself. Now, if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that the water did not go to the edges of these blocks. That's not a problem because that's where we're going to place our composters. So go ahead and place your composters in every corner and put a slab of your choosing on top of the composters. The reason why we're putting slabs on top of the composters is so that the villagers will not jump on top of them and then break the farmland around them. The final step now is to take out your wheat seeds or beetroot seeds and to just plant them inside of the farm here. The reason why we're doing this first is so that the crops have time to start growing and you can start collecting your wheat right away, instead of having your villagers slowly do it by themselves. Furthermore, if the system triggers sooner than expected, you'll also get a small harvest as well, so it's always a good idea to just kind of get started early. The next step is to get out your glass blocks, or block of choosing, to contain the villagers, and just get out your villagers. And in survival Minecraft, I'd typically do this with minecarts on rails to move the villagers around. And you just get your villagers and you just put them into the corners here, next to their composters, so that they instantly become farmer villagers. Now don't worry if they start harvesting and placing the blocks around them, that's not such a big deal. But what you want to do at this point now is to get out a bunch of seeds, and you want to give each of your villagers 4 stacks of wheat seeds, or beetroot seeds, and 4 stacks of crops, so in this case 4 stacks of wheat. Now this is a large barrier to entry, that is, you need to give them a lot of things for them to get started, but this fills up their inventory and keeps them from harvesting all the crops around them like you see them doing right now. So by filling up their inventories, they'll only plant the seeds instead of collecting the wheat for themselves. So make sure you put 4 stacks of seeds and 4 stacks of crops into their inventory. It's always a good idea to give them more than they need, just to make sure that you gave them enough. Once you've taken care of this and their inventories are full, you can now break the glass, and you can release your villagers into your farm. At this point, your farm is now fully functioning, and you can now untrigger the hopper clock, and the system should now be operational, as you can see. And the villagers will automatically pick up all of the seeds, but they will not touch any of the wheat. And then the hopper minecart will pick up the wheat and extra seeds off the ground. I recommend hooking this up to a storage network that'll automatically sort the wheat and the seeds from each other, and then you can use a composting system to get rid of the seeds, and you can save the wheat for yourself. So that's how you make an automatic wheat and beetroot farm in Minecraft 1.14.3 using a hopper clock on 40 minutes, and then it'll automatically harvest the wheat and beetroots automatically and collect them for you. So if you liked the video, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Please go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section telling me what you thought of this video. If you know anything in a newer update or in this update that I could do to improve this farm, make sure to leave a comment in the video. I might make an update to this video so that you guys can get the most up-to-date information. If you didn't like the video, please also leave a comment telling me why you didn't like the video and maybe things I could do to make the video better. Without further ado, thank you very much for watching this video, and take it easy, everybody.